Depends how they're set up.
Do we know how that one's set up?
I have no idea. I usually don't have one.
So we could be their responsibility, we don't know.
It would be unusual, but it could be. Certainly something to look at.
I just know because when we growing up back in that had to be back in the 80s, we lived in Deer Park, and I can remember my dad fixing the sidewalk when they cracked in front of our house. So like I said, that's where I'm going with this. I don't know if it. I think we need to find out first if it's even our responsibility to take care of the sidewalk, because I know there's sidewalk that's owned by people that came up with rocks in the sidewalk on Main Street. It was said we couldn't do anything about it because it wasn't our sidewalk.
Right. There's some sidewalk. Older subdivisions tend to have the sidewalk as being part of the people's property. Newer subdivisions, that's all dedicated right away. That's what Pat was talking about. With the newer subdivisions, what is it, 50 feet from the middle of the road generally?
I think so.
Yeah, 50 feet from the middle of the road is right away. So it technically belongs to the governmental entity, and the people get to use it. If it's dedicated right away, that's what it means.
Every subdivision and plat that's come through since we've been associated with the village has had sidewalk within the public right of way.
Right.
And that's 2003, 2004. So, and I would imagine probably goes back
I think before.
well before that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do some more research on the back end on this. And come back before council. Yeah. Anybody else have any more questions for Pat before we turn him loose?
You don't want me to sit
Pat,
down?
would you like to make some closing remarks?
I'll pass it.
Take the rest of the evening off.
Kicking me out?
Yep.
Go home.
Nice night.
Thank you.
Pat.
Thanks.
Mayor, the only thing, are we authorizing Ricky to go out and contract to have them silt removed, or have it, if we already need a motion, that would be another cost?
I'll move in the direction of council on that issue.
Was it?
If we're going to ask Rick to contact the county and make arrangements to contract with them for analysis of the problem on that pipe going under the road.
He could just ask the question. I don't think we'd have to have anything legal about it. Just,
Saying make a motion.
yeah, just have him do it.
You want to make a motion?
I guess I'll make a motion to have him look into that pipe. How's that?
I'll second it. All right. Any discussion?
Is this a motion to look into the pipe or to have the pipe cleaned?
No, to look at the pipe to see, then come back and
Then
see.
come back with a quote.
Right. There you go.
That's more better.
What's practical?
Well, actually, they're going to have to clean the pipe before they can look at the pipe.
Well, he can look at the ends of it and the catch basin. To see.
I guess that, yeah, he's
Well,
going
to see if that's.
to.
See if
I
it's
mean,
wrong.
they're going to need to clean the silt out, right, Rick? So you might as well just have them come in and clean the silt. They're not going to go to the extent of, if they get into this thing and it's just completely collapsed, it's a mess. They're not going to sit there and work on it. They're going
Well, that was the idea, though. Take a look at it.
They're going to come back and tell you you're going to have to replace that.
If it's cleaned out already, they can make a better judgment on what the problem is. This is what Todd's saying.
Todd, can you figure out a not to exceed amount that the cleaning?
$200. They do it at very minimal cost. I mean, they're not making money on it. They're doing it to benefit the entities. So
So we
Just do a
basically,
motion not to exceed.
$200
so we
Or
would
to
do
clean out.
the primary clean out or the
to
county?
clean and to inspect the pipe. They'll run a camera through it as far as they can go and videotape it.
So we want to modify the motion, Bob?
To not exceed two.
I guess we're going to have to. Not to exceed $200? Is
Yeah.
that the idea?
I'll second.
Other discussion or input? Roll call, please.
Derek,
Yeah.
Todd,
Yay.
Renee,
Yay.
Bob,
Okay.
Tim,
Yay.
Chuck.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. The only item I have for council this evening under the heading of the mayor's report is this information you were all made aware of last council meeting and the recent census data. I printed on and put on your desk this evening, and I see that it cut off the edge of it, so I'll fix that for you. But this was an article from the Cincinnati, or from Cincinnati.com. It was in the Community Journal, showing the growth of Claremont County, villages and township. And as you all have been made aware, Amelia is becoming dangerously close to becoming a city, with the census showing a population of 4,801 persons. And I just wanted to call to council's attention, for comparative purposes, the growth that we've experienced here in the village more than doubles any county or any village or township in the county. The reason why I bring this to council's attention is obviously we're providing services to more people than we really thought we were. And I think it's important for us to recognize the growth and acknowledge it. I have nothing further with regard to the mayor's report this evening. Next item we have this evening is the police chief report. Chief Super.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First category of my report, the area of notable events and occurrences. An investigation of merchandise being shipped to a village resident for fraudulent credit card purchases. Officer Greg Marsh learned that one of our residents was a victim of a work-from-home/free shipping scam. A resident had answered an ad to work from home by receiving packages of fixing shipping labels and taking them to a post office to be shipped. Items being sent to our resident were obtained from a fraudulent credit card purchases made by the suspect. Investigation has been turned over to the postal inspector for additional follow-ups. As our meetings are televised, I would encourage any resident that are considering a work-from-home offer that they found on the internet, please take the time to check that out with a Better Business Bureau before participating. On March 14th, Officer Hubbard observed a car driving recklessly on Huntsman Drive near the entrance to Woodside Park. As he attempted to stop the car, he continued on the main street, running a red light and nearly causing a crash. The suspect drove around the back of the apartments located at 65 East Main Street, lost control of the car, striking a parked car. I also responded to the scene and requested additional assistance. Both suspects had fled on foot. Officer Hubbard arrested a 16-year-old juvenile who was charged with reckless operation, fleeing and carrying a concealed weapon. The juvenile was in possession of a pair of brass knuckles. The 16-year-old driver was released to his parents. The other person was wanted by Hamilton County Juvenile Court, was not found. We were assisted by Union Township Police, Pierce Township, and Claremont County Sheriff's Office. 3 days later, on March 17th, Officer Merle and I located a second person who had fled. He was located in an apartment in Amanda Acres. That subject was placed in the Juvenile Detention Center. And fortunately, no one was injured during that incident. On Monday morning, March 7th, Officer Hubbard and I were dispatched to meet the property owner of a rental house in Osprey Court. The property management company discovered a female living in the house without permission. The female also had 2 children in the house with her. Upon learning that the property management company had called us, the female fled into the woods with her children to avoid being arrested. This was the morning we had some snow and it was quite chilly out. Upon her return back to the house, she was arrested by Officer Hubbard for child endangerment. On Saturday morning, March 12th, Officer Greg Marsh was sent to report of a fight / party on Arrowhead Drive. Upon arrival, we found approximately 6 to 8 people on foot in the area. One person was bleeding from a facial injury. Officer Marsh was working alone at the time, was assisted by the Pierce Township Police Department. One juvenile in this incident was placed in the detention center, and that was on an unrelated charge. The topic of administrative, since my last report to council, on a total of 23 times, 8 outside agencies have responded to our village due to us having only one officer on duty that needed assistance or no one on duty. In regards to manpower updates, Officer Braden has been deployed by the Marines, and Sergeant Gamble's status has been changed from sick leave to medical leave for absence without pay. Also under administrative, during previous discussions with the mayor and Finance Committee, we discussed the need for a property room clerk. That duty we added to our current police/court clerk's duties, so at this time will not be needed that another person hire another person. And on top of outside meetings, on March the 3rd, I attended the Claremont County Police Chiefs meeting. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Any questions for the chief? All right. Next item on the agenda is the fire department report. We have Chief Offer.
Mayor, members of council, good evening. Assistant Fire Chief Gary Alford, representing Union Township Fire Department. My report for February is as follows. Total runs 47. That included 45 EMS runs, 2 fire runs. Of the EMS runs, 27 were considered to be advanced life support runs, meaning they're serious, and 18 BLS runs, which were basic life support. Of the total EMS runs, 28 people were transported to area hospitals, 13 were non-transport, and our response time for EMS averaged 5.7 minutes and fire for 4.1 seconds. I'd also like to make mention that within the next couple of weeks, we'll be starting our semi-annual fire hydrant maintenance program. We do this at least twice a year, and we'll be out flooring the fire hydrants. We'll be greasing and oiling them as necessary, and any work that may be needed on the fire hydrant gaskets, etc. So you may see our vehicles and our people out flooring hydrants. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief Offer. Next item on the agenda this evening is a Public Works report from Public Works Supervisor Ricky Rowland.
In addition to the routine maintenance, the Public Works Department was involved in the following. I attended a 10-hour federal OSHA course on February 21st and 22nd regarding safety and safety-related gear for the workplace. This training was held at 11,001 Southland Road in Cincinnati. I also attended a one-day conference held in Dublin by the Ohio Department of Transportation. Next item, we covered about the sidewalks. On March 4, 2011, we received a report from a resident concerning 2 areas of uneven sidewalks. An area approximately 5 square feet has risen. Well, actually what it's done is dropped. They're not look appear to be risen, but it's not risen. Creating a safety concern to Glen Pike. And a stretch of 120 linear feet of walk has buckled, creating safety concerns on Creek View Lane. Both areas have been fenced off and sidewalk closed, signs installed. I have tentatively scheduled repair work to begin March 29th, and we're looking for a response for council to proceed with that.
There's a
I have a cost analysis
estimated cost analysis.
and a summary of the.
First question I have for you on Rick is, I know I asked you to put up some, sidewalk closed signs and all. Based on your opinion, and is there public safety concern there?
Yes, it's trip hazards, or anybody could trip. You can see it's raised in some places 6-8 inches and drops 2 or 3 on the other. It's just kind of tilted. As per many cities in Ohio, as to I think it's a requirement to put up those sidewalk closed signs directing people to the other side as a safety precaution. That way they're not unexpectedly coming upon that area. And you don't want to direct people into the street. If you close the sidewalk, you want to direct them to the next other sidewalk or intersection. So you put signage up directing them to a safer location to cross. So those signage, and we have the orange fencing blocking the entire areas off.
Laura, from a avoiding legal liability standpoint, while council was considering what the policy should be going forward with regard to sidewalk repair, is it reasonable to suggest that the village submit to this repair in the interest of public safety? A recommendation with that?
You can other than on completely private property, you can always expend public dollars to reduce